Fútbol Americas rolls on here on ESPN as we turn our attention to Mexico, who lost 1-0 against Venezuela Wednesday here in Los Angeles. Orbelín Pineda missed a penalty. Salomón Rondón converted a penalty, and Mexico now face a must-win against Ecuador on Sunday in Arizona. The penalty's part of the story. Another big part of the story, the play of Santiago Giménez, who of course was subbed off with half an hour to play after missing a series of good chances for the Mexican national team. All right, usually when we talk Mexico, we do a segment called Three Questions. I think we could do about 1 million questions around this Mexican national team right now, but we'll stick to three. And we'll start with the first one. The man I just mentioned, Santiago Giménez. Back-to-back starts, Herc, to start this tournament, but we haven't seen the results. No. Should he start the third game for Mexico?
He absolutely should start, because they have told us that Copa America is a generational shift. They want to hide it this way. Well, if that's the case, Santi Giménez, he's your guy of the future, and he should be guy of the present. But Santi Giménez, you got to put this away. You can't score close to 60 goals in 2 seasons in the Eredivisie between Europa League and Champions League and miss this golden opportunity.
Not just miss.
20 minutes in, this changes the game. You have to finish that. But he's not been finishing. And here's the thing. Santi Giménez, his camp, and I'm talking about his father, who works as a TV pundit, he said he doesn't feel comfortable, that he feels pressured. He doesn't feel like Jimmy, the head coach, is backing him. This doesn't just come about. Obviously, they had discussions. So if you're Santi Giménez, clear your head. Take your time. Don't think. Just react. Instinct. And you need to start putting the ball in the back of the net. If not, you're gone.
What about the one word from Chaco Giménez when he's talking about his son, obligado? He says the manager of the Mexican national team doesn't put his son because he wants to, but because he's obligated, Herc. What do you make of that?
Well, duh. Because when Jimmy Lozano was in charge, Jimmy Lozano at the U23, which is the Olympic level, when they won a bronze, it wasn't Santi Giménez. By the fact, Santi Giménez, Jimmy Lozano didn't even pick him to go. Guess who it was? Henry Martin. And when he got control of the Mexican national team at the Gold Cup, guess who his 9 was? Henry Martin, not Santi Giménez. So now, who would have been his starting forward? Henry Martin. The Federation says, we're going with Santi. So is it obligated? You tell me.
If Henry Martin was on the roster, I would say maybe you give him a start. But the other forward, Memote, is basically a lifelong journeyman, right?
He's got less than a handful of caps. He's 29 years old.
I didn't mind him coming off the bench.
That's the thing.
But this is the tournament for Santi.
The
tournament's already going down the tubes. You might as well find out if this is going to be the guy to lead you in 2026. And giving him one more game of confidence might lead to a goal, which makes him the guy.
If you can beat Ecuador, you are in. You got to ask yourself, is Santi Giménez the 9 to help you beat Ecuador?
All right, so there we have it. Santiago Giménez. Will he start against Ecuador? The first of 3 questions here on Fútbol Americas. Up next, let's go to the bench. Mexico needs a spark. Or pick somebody off the pine who's going to get El Tri going here.
Oh, man, this is what we got to work with? Okay, well, I'm picking Piojo Alvarado. Give me Roberto Alvarado, and please put him in the midfield. The man flourished at Chivas. He's a guy that's so good in between the lines, left-footed. He can shoot any way he wants. This guy is dangerous. And guess what? The guy that you had in there, Charlie, wasn't doing it. The other guy that you could put in there, Chiquito, hasn't done it either. If you want to go somewhere else in the wing, give him an opportunity. Out of all the players that could have helped you against Venezuela, the team that was so compact, defending for their lives, this is the man. And yet, you decided not to put him in the game. Give Alvarado a shot.
Yeah, I mean, if you've watched Liga MX this year and you watch Chivas at all, this guy jumps off the screen at you. He's really had a career year, an explosive year. It's a player who Mexico could absolutely use. And I love the idea, right? Put him on the outside, get him cutting in on the left, and we've seen the damage that he can do in Liga MX. I'm interested that you mentioned Chiquito Sanchez, because I could see you perhaps using Alvarado out on the wing just to get him on the field. Maybe you swap him for Antuna. I think Chiquito should have a bigger role in this team. He hasn't started yet. He didn't get on the field in the last game. Why not throw him in there? You need something else from that midfield.
When I'm looking at the bench, I'm like, okay, this is it. Chiquito Sanchez has 1 game where he stood out, and that was against Germany in a friendly when they tied 2-2. Other than that, what are his moments? There are multiple moments for Roberto Alvarado where at least you know he is there. I understand Chivas is a certain level, but this man has proved it in Liga MX, and when he's gotten a run with the Mexican national team, at least you know he is there. The other guys, it's been a disappointment.
Marcelo Flores, Chino Huerta, they do anything for you? We haven't seen Flores yet. He was supposed to be the great future of Mexican soccer at one point.
He's supposed to be, but he's still a teenager. He's still not ready. He's there because this is quite frankly, the worst generation of Mexican players that I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm sure you as well.
Can't disagree with you there. Dire, dire times for the Mexican national team. All right, our last of 3 questions here on Fútbol Américas, and it has to do with the manager. Is Jimmy Lozano's job on the line versus Ecuador? Is FA stand for Fútbol Américas or Fire Américas? We're trying to get rid of everybody.
You're the host here. You want to fire everybody. Watch out, Casey. Listen, they can tell us he is fine. They can tell us he is ratified.
Which they have. They basically said he's good.
They've already said it.
Yeah.
But you know as well as I that when the federation, when your bosses have to come out and tell you how safe you are, you ain't safe. You better be ready. And Jimmy Lozano, right now, with the little coaching pedigree he does have, they cannot risk going into a home World Cup because, believe it or not, Mexico is a home country in this World Cup with an inexperienced manager. If he can't get it done in a group phase of a Copa America, the Mexican Federation won't allow it, the Mexican press won't allow it, the Mexican public won't allow it. There's too much writing on the line. If Jimmy Lozano can't do something special to at least make him think there's a reaction, there's maybe hope on the horizon, it's over.
At the end of the day, it is the Federation's decision, but I'm interested that you mentioned the press and the public. You played in Mexico. How much weight does the press and the public have? Because I know the Federation doesn't want to fire him. He's a pretty good, cheap option right now. But I know the people are going to want to fire him if they get grouped.
You know, there's a saying when it comes to the Mexican national team coach. It's the second most pressured job behind the Mexican president. The Mexican public has a lot of influence. The Mexican press has even more. If Jimmy Lozano can't provide any type of hope here, I don't see how he's going to make it out of this. This is really a situation where he's playing for his job.
So what are their chances against Ecuador? See any hope of a turnaround?
Well, let me ask you a question. Does Mexico have a player like Piero Hincapié, who plays at Bayern Leverkusen in their defense?
No.
Do they have a player like Moises Caicedo that's worth $150 million?
No.
Do they have a teenage phenom like Kendry Páez, who's 17 years old and sold to Chelsea?
Niet.
Do they have a legendary goal scorer that's got double-digit goals in World Cup like a player like Henry Valencia?
No.
Do they have a Felix Sanchez that coaches La Masia?
No.
Okay.
You're picking Ecuador, I take
Producer
it.
Beto's not happy. Yeah,
No.
we get it. All right, I'm sorry.
He's taking Ecuador, and he's seeing Mexico out of the Copa America. Let's take a look at the odds for Mexico's potential elimination. Group stage minus 200.
Is that good?
The odds makers have spoken. You're
What
getting
does your
big
primo have?
time plus money if Mexico can somehow turn this thing around and get out of Group B. Tough, tough times for El Tri.